It's not about sex. It's about trains and fruit baskets. I'm taking the habit.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Triple Threat. My name is Tom Maruzia, and joining me are the usual gang, Garrett Hicks.
Hey,
and Avery Spencer.
Hey-ho.
And last time we got together, we talked about an album by one of the Fabs, George Harrison, and we're going to do it again, and this time we're going to change members. We're talking about Paul McCartney and his new album, simply called...
Cool. What's it called, Tom?
Old.
It's called New. Wonder where
It's the sequel album, Old.
Yeah. Wonder where he came up with that name.
Actually, that'd be really cool if he makes his next album called Old.
That would be a pretty neat thing.
Old.
And it's all covers from when he was a child.
That'd be a great idea because he's done roughly 2 albums of covers. I'd like to see him do it again. But this is his new album. You're going to be hearing that a lot. Simply called New. And this album...
I bet it was named for that reason, to screw everyone up.
Yeah, I would...
His new album, New.
I would not be...
The band.
I would not be surprised. They probably sat around and said, Paul, what are you going to name your new album? And he probably thought that, and it was like, I'm going to call it just that. And it's gotten a lot of publicity, a lot of favorable reviews. The danger with an album like this is because it's so brand new and so fresh that so many people on YouTube and so many different podcasts review it since it's so new, and we are going to be no exception. We are going to look at this album and give you our thoughts about it and how it is uniquely placed as Paul's 16th studio album.
Oh my gosh!
No, he's still going at it.
Only 16? I thought it'd be more, actually.
No, it's 16 if you don't count Wings.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes... I think there's probably other categories, like you don't count Paul and Linda or something.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of debate about that. But this is Paul's 16th album, his first rock album since Memory Almost Full in 2007. Oh, God, I remember when that came out.
Okay, come on. Electric Arguments count.
But that, I know, but that wasn't credited as Paul, but you're right.
There's another exception. There's a reason it's only 16.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of little exceptions like the Firemen or so and stuff.
Yeah, because Paul can't stop making music.
No, he can. Thank God for that, too. Electric Arguments by the Firemen that Garrett was alluding to. Thank you. 2009 was a really rocking album. I liked it. And then
Flowers in the Dirt.
Flowers in the Dirt was like late 80s. That was like late 80s.
No, what's the one he made recently?
Oh, Kisses on the Bottom.
Okay, yeah, I get those two mixed up.
But that wasn't a rock album. That was an album standard. So it's kind of nice that Paul had an album in 2012 and then again in 2013, and so it's keeping us fresh with this. So interesting to see what he'll do next. But this album is Paul's recent album, his recent rock album, released October 14th, my birthday. So Paul gave me the best present ever. I will say, kind of just get the ball rolling and diving right in. I really enjoyed this album. I'm going to start with Garrett, since you pretty much listened to this album for the first time yesterday.
Yeah. I've listened to it a total of 2.5 times now. I like it. And I don't love it. It's something I could do without for the rest of my life, but I like it. I'll come back and listen to some tracks on occasion.
Well, as we did talk off mic, it hasn't grown on you.
No, not yet. I haven't given it time to do that.
But we appreciate you volunteering to give us your thoughts on the album.
Oh, totally.
It's kind of cool because we're arguing for I've had months to grow on it and you've had days, so it'll be nice to see the contrasting arguments we come up with.
I've had somewhere in between.
Yeah. How about you, Avery?
I actually think this might be one of his top 5.
Oh, wow.
I have some problems with it, but I really, really like it. It's really good. I don't know if you want me to talk about the problem, if you want me to wait to talk about the problems.
That'll be interesting to find, but when you say top 5, you mean in a couple of years...
Solo, not including that beat stuff, but of his solos. Up there with Band on the Run and Memory Almost Full.
Oh yeah, because I know that you and I love Memory Almost Full. Well, and I'm sure Garrett does too. We've never really talked about it.
I haven't listened to Memory Almost Full all the way, but because I pick and choose tracks for that one for the BRC, but I did listen to it all the way through, I think once, and I really like it.
So it'll be interesting to see what we think of this one, because this is Paul's rock album, so be interesting to see.
I will say, though, I've listened to this only in pieces before now. Today I listened to it for the first time from start to finish.
When you say pieces, do you mean like every song individually, or
every song or a couple of songs together, or the album on shuffle?
But you're saying this is the first time you listened to it from Save Us all the way to the last song?
Yes.
Okay.
To the road / tournament, whatever / scared.
Yeah, we'll get into all the editions of this album later on. Yes, as Avery was actually, we'll get into that right now. As Avery was alluding to, there are mainly two editions of this album. There's the regular 12-song edition, which is a red-orange cover. And then there's the deluxe edition with 14 songs with a blue purplish tint cover. And then on both the standard and the deluxe editions, there is a hidden track, which we'll get to. So really, those are the two key ones that you'll be looking for. And by the way, both available on iTunes and available on CD, so you can listen to them and buy them yourself after you hear this episode. So let's begin, shall we?
Okay.
Let's go track by track. So track 1 is a song called Save Us, and boy, oh boy, what a big start to this album. I'm going to start this one off. I really liked this one. I thought it was a great opener. It's different from a lot of Paul's openers, because Memory Almost Full had the Dance Tonight, but it had like the 4 drum beats to begin the song, and this one is only 2 beats, and then the song kicks in right there. I love it. What did you think of it, Avery?
I really like it too. I think it's a good opener. I think these next couple songs all kind of slide together, but in a good way. They have a really nice flow from one to the next.
I agree. That's something that I'm going to talk about later.
I think it sets the tone for the album for the most part. The album has a very interesting tone, I think. It's not the album made by an old guy for the most part. It actually feels like it's a new man making this. A young man making this, even when he's a man in his 70s, 80s.
That's a good.
It feels like it's coming from that perspective for some reason.
I have to agree. It totally does set the tone for this album, which I consider to be very different from anything I've ever heard Paul do before. Well, to be fair, I'm not well versed in Paul's strictly his solo albums.
I was going to say, it's weird because in one half this feels like classic Paul, but in the other half it feels like nothing he's ever done before.
Exactly.
I would agree.
I can definitely, I was going to say this later, but I might as well now. Like, if you look at this slice of Paul's solo career, pretty much from Chaos and Creation in the Backyard 2005 to now, you can definitely see a progression. You can see, like, oh, and this led into this interest, and this.
Where does Electronic Arguments fit into that?
Electric Arguments came after Memory Almost Full.
Yeah, it is in there. I kind of feel like there's a lot of feel of Electric Arguments in this, but it's definitely been into a more, how did I say it?
This is more polished, yeah.
Yeah, it's more
Electric
polished.
Arguments, you can tell it was made today.
Yeah, it's more polished and pop-friendly. But so in a way, it's like, I feel like it's the sort of middle ground between Electric Arguments and Memory Almost Full.
Are you saying, and I'm actually curious about this, are you saying that with Electric Arguments he was kind of able to get all weird and out there, and with this album it was those kind of songs, but like you said, more polished?
Yeah, he was able to dive fully into the weird stuff for Electric Arguments because it wasn't under his name,
yes.
Even though he later admitted to it. To being half of the Firemen. And then with this album, he still has his foot in that pool of weirdness, but it's definitely weighted out to a more pop-friendly environment.
Mm-hmm. And the thing with Electric Arguments is that it really wasn't kept a secret, because when Avery and I saw Paul, he did 2 songs live, so he really was embracing that, I don't have to hide as the Fireman anymore. I can be who I want to be and, sing these songs. And for this one, you can hear the Sing the Changes and the Highway from Electric Arguments were rock songs, but they were buried in a little bit more spacey, psychedelic tone. When he did them live, when he performed those live, which is on the live album Good Evening New York City, they were much more rock songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked Save Us. I thought it was a great opener. I
actually haven't really talked about Save Us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I did say, like I said, that it really establishes the tone of the album, especially with all the filters he puts on his voice. They all start here, and they don't really leave, except for like one or two bits here and there.
It's kind of hard to talk about Save Us because you keep thinking about it's sort of overshadowed by the next couple of tracks.
Yeah,
it has a real double hitter in the next couple of tracks, and it's kind of overshadowed Save Us.
Yeah, I think Save Us.
So I made the mistake of listening to this with one headphone or one speaker. I think it's for the whole album too. There's it's everything but the chorus is in one speaker. So I just heard the instruments and then Save Us, and occasionally Save Us would come on. I thought this is a really weird track.
Then there's a lot of fuzz on the guitar, some really deep and sort of almost a bit menacing in the piano. The riff is very catchy. You just hum it repeatedly. So overall,
some that are a bit menacing.
Yeah, I would totally agree. There's a lot of darkness in this one, but it all evens out really well, I think. So overall, Save Us. I would say it is a bit forgettable, especially since it's one of the shorter tracks on the album.
I would agree, and also it is the opener, so you tend to forget it. Yeah. And also, I love you said you took the words out of my mouth. I love the fuzz. I love that it is very menacing. It sounds like a superhero song, Save Us, and I love the Save Us, like that minor chord in that bit. I thought that was just fantastic. Overall, I'd say good job, Paul.
Yeah.
So. Final thoughts
on it, and you're like, I could listen to another hour of this.
So, all right. So, final thoughts on Save Us?
Save Us.
All right. So, we'll save you, and we'll go on to track 2, a song that Avery and I have played in the car a lot. Yeah, segue into Alligator. Avery, I'm going to ask you first, since we've played this together. What do you think of Alligator?
I really, really love this song. It's really catchy, but yet when you listen to it again, it's surprisingly I don't want to say dark, but slightly dark lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
I think Paul has a history of that, all the way from Lady Madonna.
That's a good point. Yeah, like he creates pop-sounding songs, but with dark lyrics.
Yeah. This has a really creepy vibe just throughout the entire thing.
It kind of sneaks up on you, too, with the opening.
It's slightly flirty, too. There's a lot of this album which is surprisingly flirty, which you haven't really seen from him after his death of his wife.
Well, to be fair, he does have a new wife now, so he's probably feeling those feelings.
Didn't he divorce Heather, or is he married again?
No, he's married again to Nancy Chevelle. That's her name.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains. That actually kind of explains things. That I didn't know he got remarried again.
Oh yeah. I think he married in 2012, like after Kisses on the Bottom or something. I don't know.
I don't think it was as publicized as Heather is.
Well, that was because they were only together for like a year.
Because Heather Mills had a really messy divorce.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Anyway.
But that's none of our business.
No, I don't really care about that drama.
Yeah. Garrett, what are your thoughts on Alligator?
I'm not entirely sure why y'all like it so much, actually.
Oh.
It's a good song.
I think it's a couple of car chips with this on. This and the next track, Queenie Eyes, both really benefit from just having it play on the car.
Well, On My Way to Work is actually next.
Oh, you're right. Queenie Eyes does too.
We'll get to those, but Garrett, you were talking about Alligator.
Yeah. First off, it sounds really cool. Like I said, it's got a pretty creepy vibe throughout. The acoustic guitar in it is pretty awesome. The keyboard hook is great. I like that.
It's got harpsichord in there too, and I know you like that.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. The riff on the electric guitar is really good. Then there's that spacey sort of bridge section that comes out of nowhere.
What you're talking about?
No, you're thinking of Could You Be That Person For Me?
I can't really remember the lyrics to it.
Yeah, where it kind of slows down, and he sings, Could you be that person for me?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That just came out of nowhere, and I was like, okay. Part of it is I'm finding it really hard to remember the lyrics to this album, except for the one thing that's repeated in every song.
I actually think this album has some of his best lyrics, but we can talk about that more in the next track.
I haven't noticed. I think a lot of it is with all the echoey filters he puts on his voice that makes it harder for me to actually discern them and makes me work more. Makes
sense. I guess my overthought about Alligator is, I'm with Avery. I really, really like this track. It's weird. I kind of like the creepiness of it because you don't think of Paul as that kind of person. And I like the acousticness, like I said, the harpsichord. I actually kind of like the bridge, the quiet bit, because that did come out of nowhere, and it was kind of like, oh, after Save Us, which was a straight ahead rocker, Alligator kind of slowed it down a little bit. I was kind of like, that's kind of cool. I mean, on one hand, that should not work, but I don't know, it really did. Maybe it's because I just like the song so much that I'm just biased.
Lots of songs do that though. It's kind of like the reverse of Behind Blue Eyes, where they have the rock bit in the middle. And this they have the soft bit in the middle.
That's very true, because the song is pretty much straight ahead, and then you get to the "Could you be that person for me?" and it's that quiet bit in the middle.
Yeah, it's really
it's even like in really four sections. There's the do 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 do, and there's I want somebody to blah blah, and then there's the could you be that person for me, and then there's the other one. And there's kind of four sections to this song.
Yeah. I thought it was I actually played the song more than I thought that I would. I feel like if I was maybe like an adult, I would probably skip this one more, but since I'm, 20 years old, I'll reveal that right now, for anybody who didn't know. I find myself listening to this one a lot, because I just giggle at this song. It's kind of a nonsense song in a way. But, no, well, it is in a way, but it has some... Think about it. Everybody else is doing better than me. I can see why it is. And then he also sings, hey, I'm a normal guy. I want to come home and just have a conversation, not too deep. I want to have somebody to be able to give my alligator to.
Oh, wait a minute. Is alligator a euphemism?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh God.
I would not be surprised.
I kind of like that though. This isn't over the top about it. This isn't.
Yeah.
It's not over the top like that. It plays around with it, but it's not over the top. It also doesn't come off as cheesy like it usually does with Paul McCartney.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll talk about this in the next track.
Yeah, so
segue.
Yeah, segues.
Again, talking about the album as a whole, it's not a very cheesy album.
Which is really interesting, what I really liked. He actually tackles a lot of his weaknesses in this album.
Yeah.
A lot of what I would say Paul McCartney's weaknesses as songwriters are tackled and done really well on this album.
I would agree. And we'll get to
segue into the next track.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of those.
He's really challenging himself to grow with this. I like it.
Yeah, so since we established like 4 segues, any final thoughts on Alligator?
No.
Next track.
All right, next track. Track 3 is simply called On My Way to Work.
And I remember what you told me when you first heard this song. When you first heard this, you groaned, thinking, "Oh no, it's one of those songs."
Yeah. So I'll start with this one. When I first heard this, I was kind of like, "Oh no, Paul's gonna ruin this album for me because it's gonna be like the Driving Rain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like very basic song, On my way to work." I was kind of like, "Oh no," and then it's not my favorite on the album. I'll grant you that, but it's a nice, pleasant. It's almost like a kid song in a way. It's very playful in its nice track. How about you, Avery?
I think this is a kid song. I will say this is one of my favorites. I think this is almost like his answer to A Day in a Life. It's just commenting on the mundane, but doing it in a slightly creepy and dark way. This is something that John's really good at, but he has never been. But he's really good at it in this track, and it's just really, really surprising and good.
You make a good point about comparing it to A Day in the Life.
Yeah.
When he's on the train, but it's not just like la la la. It's like I got the pony mag.
I love that thing. I'm sorry.
Oh look, water skiing.
He's slightly creepy, but believably creepy and likably creepy.
Yeah.
And the fact that this song comes after Alligator. Garrett, what about you? What do you think about On My Way to Work?
Well, first off, again, most of what I wrote is about how the song sounds. Like, I really like the acoustic work in this one, and also, that mid bit that sort of has the middle's. Can't tell.
The electric guitar that comes in, the do 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 do.
The middle section, I think that's an electric guitar, but it sounds kind of Chinese-ish, and that's really racist, maybe. But I'm just thinking, it sounds like a factory, especially with that.
Yeah, it has that assembly line beat to it.
That beat, and then also has the thing going on in the background. And there was one of the lines that really made me. It actually made me think for a second. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I wrote, "It's a working class epiphany."
Was it the line? I'm curious. Was it the line? How could I have so many dreams and not one of them come true?
Maybe.
because that's the line that I think of. It's like, you know, you're Paul McCartney. You can get anything you want.
Yeah.
But this sounds. I mean, this is why it kind of sounds like it's the writing from a younger man, from a young Paul McCartney's point of view.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like a John Lennon song. This is something that John Lennon would write.
Lyrics,
it feels like his answer, and lyrically, it feels like his answer to John Lennon.
I'd say I agree with Garrett. I think lyrically it's a Lennon song, but I can't see Lennon just strumming it unless Lennon just wasn't taking it seriously. Because a lot of John's songs, when they're completed, are musically they're sometimes they can be very complex. There are some exceptions, but with a song like this, I can't see John, you know, strumming it in the studio on my way to work. I think he would have done something.
John's song's going to be really simple, but it's actually the opposite. This is almost too produced for John Lennon. John Lennon would be like a Mother or a working class hero type thing. Yeah. It would just be him on the piano or him on the guitar.
So you're saying you can't see John with the down, 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 down?
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. So segue. Moving on to track 4, song called Queenie Eye. I really, sorry, I can't speak. Really nice song. Avery,
UT spells out. Spells out. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, Avery, you and I have sung this in the car, especially the chorus, and we've been going, and what does that mean? But it's such a fun, catchy song that
this is one of the catchy songs I've ever heard. I just love it.
Yeah, it is. It is catchy, but again, what the hell does it mean?
This is the real nonsense song of the album, but I love it for it.
Well, actually, I have, of all things, I have a Wikipedia entry for this song, and it actually is based on an old children's playground game.
I totally saw that.
Yeah, but I've never played this. I'll read just really quickly this.
Is it a British playground game?
Oh, it has to be.
It has to be. I want to just read this article really quickly. It's a little, like 3 sentences. It says, a person is picked to be the Queenie, or in America, that would be the person who's it, and that person turns their back to everybody else. The Queenie then throws the ball over her shoulder, and one of the players needs to catch it or pick it up. And then everybody except the Queenie puts their hands behind their backs, so the Queenie doesn't know who has the ball. And then the Queenie turns around, and everybody shouts, you know, Queenie Eye, who's got the ball? I haven't got it, it isn't in my pocket. And OUT spells out. So, and apparently when they say OUT spells out, the Queenie is supposed to guess who has the ball. It's sort of like I don't really know what game I can relate it to, really. It's kind of, I would agree, seems like a very...
The cup and the ball, they swirl the cups around, and you're like, which cup has the ball in it?
That's
oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were talking about like the ball in a cup on a string.
No.
I don't know what that's called. It's the game you see on street corners.
Yeah, I think Avery's right. This would be the equivalent of the cup and the ball game, and I would agree with both of you. It's extremely catchy. I love the rhythm of it, and it's also, getting to Avery's point, it has some kind of serious lyrics in it too. The whole part about the whole idea that, you know, it's kind of like life is a game and love is a game, and you have to be careful how you play it.
Okay.
I mean, I think it has some potential to it. Garrett, did you say what your overall opinion about Queenie Eye?
Not yet. First off, it starts with strings. I like that. Strings are good. It has a lot more of the echoey vocals like I've come to expect on this album by now. Another big trademark of this album, I guess, is the really bouncy piano that goes around in a lot of the songs. This one also has a really quiet and spacey bridge in the middle. Have you noticed?
Oh yeah, the I was nervous, and then it builds into the everybody say yeah. and right back into the chorus, which is something to Paul's credit that he can do that.
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah.
So, overall, Queenie Eye's not my favorite song. It's all right.
I like it very much. I think it's really catchy, and if you noticed, I don't know if you guys really noticed, but do you guys remember that old like Beatles nonsense song "Christmas Time Is Here Again"?
Yeah.
Do you remember? There's a part in that song where Ringo sings "O-U-T" spells out.
Yeah.
And I guess that was a relation to the game as well, but we all just we didn't care because "Christmas Time Is Here Again" was a nonsense song, so we just thought that was nonsense.
This song reminds me of more of this all together now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and are you saying because it has that children's kind of vibe to it?
Yeah, and it also has a slightly dark undercurrent theme.
But Altogether Now doesn't have a dark theme.
Yeah, it does.
Altogether Now. Yeah, Can't Take My Friend to Bed. Well, it's just a wonderfully dark little line thrown in there. Like it's this equivalent to "You've Been Putting It About." And it's still tongue just and "You've been putting it about."
Oh God. Anyway, so I think we've covered Queenie Eye then.
Yep.
So track 5 is one of my favorites on the album. This is the one that caught me first listen. The first few ones I was like, it's okay. This one caught me straight up. It's called Early Days, and it's Paul and his acoustic guitar, and it's Paul being really snobbish in a way.
Yeah.
Okay,
what's your opinion on this song? Tell me before I go.
Well, actually, let me ask Garrett, since he kind of went on it.
Well, first off, I don't think he's being particularly snobbish. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I know where you're going with that. I see it as Paul.
It's about dealing with the limelight and stuff, and dealing with his fame more than I'd say snobbish.
Yeah, it's him taking possession of his life, which, as he mentions. Yeah, as he mentions in the song, I listened to this earlier, everybody has their opinions about what happened, but I don't know how you could really form a valid opinion if you weren't there, so shut the hell up. Yeah, it's just, and you hear very explicit mentions of him and John and the other Beatles, John specifically, like riding with him, walking around with the guitars and their slick back Vaseline hair.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how this song it builds so well because it starts with just the acoustic guitar and it's very gradual with the voice, and then you get some keyboards in, and then the rest of the band comes in one at a time, and it's very nice. Although if I had one problem with this song, it's that I'm not a huge fan of the vocal harmonies going on here toward the end. Well, that's kind of an issue I have with this album as a whole, is that the vocal harmonies coupled with all the echoey vocal effects just don't really do it for me.
Well, funny you mentioned that, but I'll get to that in a minute. I would agree. Now that probably snobbish wasn't the right choice of words, but I totally agree with Garrett. Essentially saying, it's almost like not a criticism, but saying to authors, how can you say you know the definitive Beatles story? You weren't there. Only a small handful of people were there the whole time. They may know what's going on, but they don't have the whole story. Only 4 people know the whole Beatles story because they were there from start to finish. And that's probably my favorite line of the whole song. People have their opinions about who did this and who did that, but they can't remember it if they didn't know where it was at. I guess this one struck me because it was kind of like, Paul being a little bit, for lack of a better word, a little bit nasty, a little bit selfish in a way. I think that's why it caught me a little bit, because the last time I can think of that Paul wrote something like that was something like writing to Vanity Fair on Chaos and Creation. Like, that one was... He's never said it, but I tend to think writing to Vanity Fair was a bad message to somebody. So I relate these 2 songs in a way. So
it's really nasty. If anything, it reminds me of to go on that reminds me of the thing again of When We Were Fab. It's just very much reflecting their legacy, and it wasn't entirely a positive experience for them, understandably.
But he's still while being a bit caustic, he can still be charming and playful about it. It's kind of tongue in cheek.
Mm-hmm. Avery, so what are your thoughts overall on the song?
With this?
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but it's not even one of my least favorites on the album. Just because it feels so out of place with the rest of the album. The rest of the album is new, and this is very much the old. This is his early life. This is him reflecting. This is his legacy song, almost. It almost sounds like it's the kind of thing that he's got to put these in every album, because this might be his last album, because he might die soon. He never knows at this point. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's got to be a legacy song on every single album. But it's really out of place on this album.
I think, actually, now I think about it, I kind of like the way that it's after Queenie Eye, because Queenie Eye is but references a game from his childhood, and he's kind of like still visiting that childhood or those younger days in this song. I kind of like that, actually.
But this feels like it should be on the old album, not the new album.
Yeah, like if he was going to make an album... kind of like
it reminds me of some like vintage clothes, or when you were Fab, or
something
what's the one he wrote for John?
Here Today.
Here Today.
Yeah, I mean you can't help but compare it to those because that's the subject matter.
This sounds like, in case this is my last album, here's my legacy song on it. Here's the song that's look back at Paul.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. I really like this one.
I'm okay with it too, and the other.
I like it too, but it feels really out of place when you think about the album as a whole.
I think what Avery's saying, and Avery, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're getting at is a lot of these songs are, to use a better word, new. That like they're new thoughts about how he's feeling now. But this is
about a new man. It's almost from the point of view of a young man.
So
Yeah.
you're saying
this is like the point of view as an old man.
So you're saying most of this album is occupied with him looking forward, except for this one weird track where he's looking back?
Yes.
I see where you're going with that, but maybe if you
think at Doctor Who, this is post-regeneration, and this is pre-regeneration. The rest of the album feels like it's post-regeneration.
I understand where you're coming from with that, but I also give it a twist and think, well, maybe he's had some kind of epiphany recently, and this is a new reflection on to use the word, but a more recent reflection on what has already passed, and it's just he's found a different perspective of looking at it.
But also think about it too. This year that we're recording, 2014, is the 50th anniversary of the Beatles in America, and there's probably going to be tons and tons of press, and they're all going to be, probably quoting to say that they have the right version of the story. And Paul says, "No, I do."
Yeah,
that could be a thought, but
it's not really good. I doubt there's going to be a ton of press. That's a hard anniversary to sell the Beatles, quotation marks, in America. That's not quite a hard-line anniversary. That's harder to kind of make a big deal out of.
I see what you're getting at, though.
It's not 50 anniversary since their first album, so you can say 50th anniversary since the Beatles.
One last note I have about early days. We're talking, Garrett, you mentioned the harmony vocals. I was watching an interview when the album was first coming out, and I'm sorry, I couldn't remember exactly who the interviewer was, but Paul was talking about this song, and he was saying that he was doing the vocal takes, and he said to the producer, "I can do a better vocal," and the producer said, "No, that was the most honest one that there is. If we try to redo it, we'll never get the same vibe." So that's the one that they used. So kind of like what we were talking about, like in an early episode with "Rising Sun" by George, how his vocal's kind of weak. There probably is a version of Early Days with a better vocal on it.
That'll be a bonus track on the 2-year anniversary edition.
Yeah, the 2-year anniversary edition. Anyway, so final thoughts on Early Days. Okay. Yeah.
I really like it, and I think it does have a place on this album.
Well, the next song was the first single from the album, and this is kind of what Avery was alluding to of Paul looking forward. The song is the title track, New. Let's start with Garrett. What do you think of this one overall?
Well, it's obviously the single.
Obviously, yes.
I mean, you can get that from the get-go with the bouncy keyboards and the hand claps. I really like the harmonies on this one, actually. They're good. And they also has the brass instruments and the saxophone in there. I mean, it's so obviously very poppy for this album. But hey, it's all good fun. Especially like the vocal play throughout, and especially at the very end.
You're talking about that? You're talking about like the acapella bit at the end?
Yeah, it's all very nice.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of New, Avery?
I actually just soon got a minute to listen to it again to remember what it was. I forgot what it was for a second, but that being said, I really like New. It is very almost like not when I'm 64. Your Mother Should Know or Getting Better.
Yeah.
And that's sort of slightly poppy, but in a weird Beatle-esque Broadway kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's these poppy dun 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 dun.
Yeah, it's almost like Broadway by the Beatles.
I'm actually the Beatles song I connected to is Penny Lane, not because of the bounce it, but when he sings "Don't Look at Me," I think in Penny Lane that it kind of starts the same way.
Yeah, a little bit.
Those two songs. I'm gonna be the devil in this one. When I first heard it, when it was the single, I was like, great, it's a new Paul song, and I'm like, this is.
I don't think this is the most impressive one to make a single. I wouldn't have made this a single. I would have made Beanie Eyes or On My Way to Work the single. Or even Alligator. I wouldn't have made this the single.
I can see why it's the single, because it's very poppy, but when I first heard it...
This is the name of the album?
Yeah. But also...
That's probably why it is the single.
But also getting back to the when it was announced and said this is the song from Paul's new rock album, and I heard new and it was all pop. And I was like, is the whole album going to be like this? I mean, I'm sure I'll like it because I love Paul's solo work. But
rock's always been pretty pretty poppy. Although I don't like that term. For lack of a better word, poppy.
So you're saying that...
Garrett's talking about how dumb a term pop is. Pop is short for popular music. Everything that is popular is pop. Yep. Justin Bieber is pop. Metallica is pop. The Rolling Stones are pop. Elton John is pop. Madonna is pop. Some classical music is pop because it's popular.
Radiohead was pop at one point.
Yep, they're all popular, so they're all pop.
So I guess in lack of a better term, better word, I think Avery's right. It's very Broadway, very show-tuney kind of song. But like I said, when I first heard this, and it was from the whole rock album, and when it was first announced,
pop, they tend to be melodic.
Yeah, when it was
really melodic.
I didn't love it.
That's not what I think of it at all.
Well,
what do you think of?
I think of more of a sellout sort of term, very negative connotation.
Yeah, that's probably hipster
something that is engineered to sell.
Yeah.
I can feel that.
I think when pop is used positively, it tends to mean melodic. When it's used negatively, it tends to mean Justin Bieber or One Direction.
Yeah.
I agree with Garrett, and I agree with both of you in a lot of ways. This is obviously the single. I don't skip it. When I was just glad the whole album just wasn't like this. That's all, really.
Yeah.
It's a nice song. I like the sentiment of it, and
it's a good mission statement for the album, fittingly enough, because it's the name of the album.
Yeah, I can see why.
Kind of Austin is a good job representing the album too.
I can see why Paul named this album New, because all these songs are like new thoughts or new looks on life, and this song reflects all that. He has a new lover, so he has a new love, and he has a new perspective on a lot of things. I give him credit for that. I like the song. So.
Yeah, me too.
Don't sound so defensive, Tommy.
Well, when I was getting about the whole thing that I don't like the poppiness of it, that didn't necessarily mean I didn't like it.
But I like the song.
I like it too. So before we take our break, we're going to talk about one more song on this album, simply called "Appreciate." Really weird ass track.
I love it though. It's super dark, and I love that. It reminds me of something like Art of Dying from All Things Must Pass. Just really rocky, dark song.
Interesting.
I don't know if anyone else is familiar with Art of Dying. Are you, Tommy?
Oh, of course. But I'm saying Art of Dying is... No, I was about to say Art of Dying is more produced, but Appreciate's very produced too.
Yeah.
Actually, while I gather my thoughts, Garrett, how do you look at Appreciate?
Dude, this song is amazing.
I kind of knew you'd say that.
I freaking love it. This is my favorite song on the album, hands down.
I'm laughing a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I listened to it last night, the first thing I hear is, I was like, is that 8-bit sound effects? This is the very first thing you hear is the bam. That begins the song. Then the drums kick in and everything, and like I'm listening to it, just the instrumentation of it before the vocals even come in, and I immediately think, I want this song in a video game where I'm crawling through a dark area.
That actually works with what Avery was saying. It's a little bit dark in a sense. And
a little bit, dude. This is freaking amazing. This is minor key dark.
And the song is called Appreciate.
I know, that's really weird. I thought it was going to be something really upbeat. And it does have that upbeat message, but in a really strange and murky atmosphere throughout.
It feels like the between point between the upbeat message and the downbeat message it's coming from. It feels like it's the in-between step. It feels like if this is his new album, it feels like the transition between the old him and the new him. This feels like a transition almost. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. I think I just spoke gobbledygook there.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you say that this is a kind of a transition between like The Fireman and this album?
Yeah.
Because it has that pop sense to it, and it's very, like it's very rhythmically, almost like there's a drum machine going on. I think if I was younger and this album came out, I would appreciate, no pun intended, I'd appreciate this song a lot more because back then I didn't know how to skip songs. I think it's really cool, and
I wouldn't skip this though.
No, me either, man.
I wouldn't skip it. I'm just simply saying that
this is like Art of Dying. This song just catches you. It has such a good opening.
I think this is
with the beeps and then the riffs and then even the gothic almost sounding singing that comes in.
It's almost. I guess I have a problem with it being placed after New, and New is show tuning, and Appreciate is like the complete opposite of it.
Yeah. That is a total shift.
I kind of think it's on purpose, though.
I think so. I would agree. I think it's on purpose.
Yeah, it's sort of a bait and switch. Like, oh, you thought this is what the album is? Guess again, mother.
Which I give Paul credit to.
It does kind of seem like it'd be the trailer for the it's about to get messed up in whatever show you're watching.
What's up, Internet? This is Garrett Hicks, co-host of the Triple Threat podcast. You'll normally find me gushing about one of the 3 bands we cover in Triple Threat, but recently I've been branching out. Join me on a musical journey through time as I make reviews for albums right after listening to them. There will be reviews for Broadway musicals, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, Starbomb, Led Zeppelin, Eric Clapton, Stevie Wonder, Queen, Julian Lennon, U2, R.E.M., Nirvana, Green Day, Radiohead, The White Stripes, Curtis Stephen, Imagine Dragons, Elliot Morris, Peter Gabriel, and many more. You can find Amazing Journey at mixcloud.com/amazing-journey with a new show every weekend. Sickness will surely trap the mind, but minds were meant to flow. Come on the amazing journey. We'll learn all we should know.
And we are back talking about Paul McCartney's new album, simply called New. And over the break, Avery said had a question to ask.
Do you think this was an album made for the digital age? I kind of get that feeling from this album, that it was made more for people who buy off iTunes and stuff and download it than people who go to the store and buy a record or a CD. With the various bonus tracks and the secret tracks, and the fact that it's kind of, at least in my opinion, like the best songs in the top half, so those are the ones you'd click on and sample. Like, I almost feel like that decision was made for that reason.
I'm not sure, and I don't know the reason behind this, but I don't think Paul makes albums for the digital age. I think he just makes them...
I didn't either, but I kind of feel like this one is.
Well, that's the problem with most albums, is that most albums have a slump towards the end of them because they're usually forgettable. I mean, there are loads and loads of exceptions, but especially nowadays, since there is iTunes and you can just buy individual songs.
But Paul's albums tend to finish really strong. History recently lifted from the Beatles, where the Beatles albums always had a strong finish, and Paul's albums tended to too.
They do as well.
They have like a big anthem at the end.
Okay, hold on. Good Night is not a good finish to the White Album.
But
that's the only exception.
But you know what I mean, like
that's the only
Day in the Life.
Yeah.
Tomorrow Never Knows.
But to be fair, Garrett,
the entire medley at the end of Abbey Road.
But to be fair, Garrett, would you rather the White Album close with Good Night or Revolution 9?
Yeah.
This isn't the White Album podcast.
Yeah, this is not the White Album. We'll do that. No. We'll do that later. Okay.
But you know what I mean? I mean, even like what's the one that Flaming Pie ends with?
Great Day.
Is it? Yeah, I'm thinking of a different one. What's the album that ends with Constantly Karma's at the secret end?
Oh, Off the Ground.
Off the Ground. Yeah. What's the song at the end of that?
That one ends with "Come On, People."
Yeah, the one that's very Hey Judy.
Yeah, very Hey Judy. But you're right. Paul is usually good with sequencing his albums at the end of.
And this album kind of just tends to peter out.
But I think that's a problem.
It's a very modern thing, where the best tracks are at the beginning, probably because of like track ratios and stats that have shown that people buy the first couple songs or something.
But I think that's just the problem with music nowadays, especially since there's a digital age and people's attention spans are getting shorter. They put the hit-filled songs at the beginning.
Yeah, but I think this album seems, maybe it's because it's like a new man feel too, but it seems to suffer from things that modern albums suffer from too.
You make a good point, but speaking of that, let's talk about the songs on the second half of this album, starting with "Hey, Everybody Out There."
What?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Everybody out there.
Yeah.
You know what, Garrett? Since you jumped the gun on this one, what do you think of it?
It's good. It's got a catchy riff, first off, and I like me some catchy riffs. I really like the message of this one, actually, which is do some good before you die, before you say goodbye, or however he puts it. Also, I don't know why. I don't really have a specific reason for it, but I really like the "there but for the grace of God" line.
Oh yeah, this one. I was trying to think of which one it was.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of "this is but for the grace of God."
It is.
Yeah. I don't know why that line just gets me every time. I just think it's so good.
That sounds like it should be the title line. Not everybody out there. It sounds like the song should be called "But for the Grace of God" or "Grace of God" or "There But For."
Yeah, something like that. And it ends with Morse code, which is clever and cool.
Yeah, talking about everybody out there and like that little signal that goes through.
Yeah, it's mass communication.
Like that, cool. Avery, what do you think? Do you have anything to add to everybody out there? What do you think of it?
I'm kind of on Garrett's line too. It's okay. This album almost seems to suffer from catchy fatigue, where I'm almost catchied out. I'm having a hard time remembering what the song is, even though it is really catchy, because this whole album's been really catchy.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to listen to this the whole second half again, just to get a better sense of the second half.
Okay.
Maybe that's why I think the first half's stronger, because you just get catchied out after the first half. Maybe this would benefit from being in two different albums, or side one and side two.
Mm.
Well, if you have this album on vinyl, everybody out there does begin side two,
but no one has this album on vinyl. Or at least everyone who bought this did not buy it to listen to it. They bought it to frame it on their wall or something.
I would have probably done that too.
Yeah, if I bought new on vinyl, it would be up on my wall. It wouldn't be in my record player.
I really like this one too. I like the fact that I can see it starting side two. I love the riffs. The riff is very catchy. Paul, I have in my notes, Paul said he wrote this as a concert sing-along. I don't think this is I think this is a song to the people, but I do not classify this as a sing-along.
No, if you want to say the sing-along is Queenie Eyes.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's not this song.
Right, and if anything...
Although, I mean, I can see him maybe starting out from there, but it didn't end up there.
But I think...
You start out writing a song is not necessarily where you finish.
Right. Usually a sing-along is usually it doesn't have too many words, or it repeats over and over again. Everybody out there has like 3 different verses, and I do. It is a song to the crowd, like the sentiment. Do some good before you say goodbye. There, but before the grace of God, go you and I. I love that bit. I think that's extremely catchy. I mean,
honestly, probably all of these songs started out with the beginning intention of crowd song.
Yeah, and
with the catchy choruses. I don't think this one ends up there.
And also, most of his band, like the band he's touring with now, they're on most of these songs, so they kind of have that feel to them that they could be played live. Also, I have a cool note about everybody out there. The first time I heard it, when I heard the whoa, it reminded me a little bit of like Coldplay or like Lady Gaga, about how they use those whoas in their songs, and they have a giant anthemic feel to it. Like you listen to the song Paradise by Coldplay, there's the whoa, and it echoes off the walls. I love that, and I love that Paul put that in this song. I don't think he was thinking of Coldplay when he wrote this one, but it has elements of it.
Right.
I love this song.
I've said my opinions on Paradise before.
Yes, you have. We've had those talks. Okay, so any final thoughts by everybody out there?
It's good.
It's good.
All right, next. Track 9 is actually one of my favorites on the album. and I know it's probably surprising for some. It's called Hosanna. It's actually the only song on this album that's all Paul, meaning he played everything. Yeah, the other ones had one or two band members. This one's all Paul, and I don't know if that helps or why I like it a lot. It's a simple, loving love song ode. I think it's great. What do you think about it, Avery?
I was just listening to it again to refresh my put myself on mute.
Okay, well, how about we talk to Garrett first?
Yeah, go ahead and talk to Garrett first.
All right. I think it's pretty good. I like the atmosphere of this song most of all, with the floaty synths going on and the backwards guitar here and there. It's so mysterious, most of it. Just the tone of it is pretty interesting to me.
I like it. I mean, I really need to listen to this whole second half again because it's really good, but at the same time, I've kind of already forgetting it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
I can see why you like it though. It has a really simple feeling, and it has like those backwards guitars, like it's very early Beatles, or not early Beatles, mid Beatles sounding.
Yeah, it has that feel to it. I really like it.
It's good. I mean, I'd love to talk about this album again later, just because this album's going to really benefit from listens to and re-listens to and re-listens to, I think.
I think because the album is fresh anyways, like not just to us.
Yeah.
It can be difficult. I like this one too, and on a funny note, I was flipping through the credits, and it says Paul is on everything except Ethan Johns. And Avery, this will add to your digital thought. It says Ethan Johns, who produced this song. He says Ethan Johns is playing iPad Tambora app. So talk about. This
album does have lots of like modern influences almost. I can't remember which track it is, but there's one track that could almost seem like it could be a modern pop song.
Well, I think I know a song that we're gonna talk about that's just like that. So I like Hosanna. You guys think it's a good song overall?
It's good. I'll probably like it more and more with re-listens.
All right, cool. Track 10 is my personal favorite song on the album, called "I Can Bet." But when I first heard this one when I first heard this album from start to finish, this one, along with Early Days, was the one that caught me by attention. This is my favorite song. It's got you know what? I'm gonna save my thoughts for later. Let's go to Avery.
It's good. I think we get to get into my problem of why I don't like the second half as much. I'm kind of catchied out. I Can Bet is catchy, but it's not as catchy as Queenie Eyes or On My Way to Work or Alligator.
I can see you think this whole side has a problem with the fact that these songs don't stand out as much.
Yes. I think maybe a part of that is just fatigue.
Fatigue?
Yeah, I'm catchy fatigue after the first album. After the first half of the album.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, then. Garrett.
Because I almost wonder if these songs are stronger than I'm realizing.
I see what you mean. So, Garrett, I Can Bet.
Well, coming off of Hosanna, which is a fairly slow one, I Can Bet immediately grabs you by the neck, and the first thing it says is "Listen to me," and I go, "Okay."
No, you're exactly right. Dun 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 dun.
Yep.
And
it's this is my second favorite song after Appreciate. It's fun. This song.
It is.
It especially what was it? Something about imagination. There was a line.
Yeah, he says, I'll
That's the problem I'm having also, because this album is really great rhymes, but I don't remember all of them yet.
Yeah.
I believe that the line is, I'll pull you to me, but what I'm going to do next, I leave entirely to your imagination.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me a little bit.
I love that line. I do love this song now that I think about it.
Yeah. I love this song because the first time I listened to it, I was listening to the lyrics and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the doctor. Because I'm a geek like that.
Explain for those who are stupid.
Yeah, actually explain for me too, because I don't know what you're getting at. Because this is a lot more sexual than anything in Doctor Who.
That's only because you're reading into it too much.
That's next. You can guess, but you'll never guess.
Oh well. I really like how it feels like, maybe not the doctor exactly, but whoever the speaker is in this song is about to take the speakee, on a wild ride of wonderment and fun times in store with this quirky and not quite, not exactly sane guy. Yeah, it's lots of fun. I really like it. There's not much more I can say.
No, you make a good point. It's kind of the same for me.
One more thing.
Because I think the song is fairly overtly sexual.
I was actually
I love this album.
I was about to just say that. It reminds me a little bit of Alligator in the sense that, you know, he pulls the person to them, but what I'm going to do next, you think of it.
No, it seems like that. You almost like, you know that line you see in films? You don't know what I can do with my little finger? It's always done sexually.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of that kind of thing. You'll never guess what I'm about to do next.
You
don't know what I can do.
Well,
oh my God.
You can think it's sexual as much as you want, but I just think it's fun.
I think both things. I double think.
Well, I mean, sexual is fun.
Yeah, fine. I mean, that's why we love Sledgehammer, isn't that right, Avery?
Sledgehammer's not about sex. It's about trains and fruit baskets. I'm taking the habit.
Exactly.
Garrett, did you say you had one more thing to add?
Yeah.
I mean, is that going to go in the main show and the outro?
Both.
Are you just going to put that at the beginning of it? Sledgehammer's about trains and fruit baskets?
We'll put that at the beginning with no context.
Yes, that's the best one.
Don't even put Sledgehammer, but it's about trains and fruit baskets.
No, I think you should say Sledgehammer is about, yeah. But
well-known song off New, Sledgehammer.
No, but I can bet, the last thing I was going to say is there's a pretty wicked synth solo right in there.
Yes.
I love it.
Love the
synth. This is the
synth.
one that starts out with the driving drums?
Yeah, this is the one that starts with the dun 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 dun.
Listen to me.
I love the synth.
It's almost kind of, Are You Gonna Be My Girl? Dun 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 dun.
A little bit. Now that I think about that, I mean, I haven't heard that one in a while. Actually, what Garrett was saying, I love the synth solo. I think it's very. It almost reminded me like a little bit of Jet in the way that the synth solo comes in the middle there. The only thing I don't love about the song is like the loopy, spacey ending to it. I think it should have ended straight, kind of like how it begins. I don't love that, but that's just me.
Maybe that could be better. I don't know. I just like it all.
Yeah, it is my favorite on the album, so it's hard. It's weird for me to say that I don't like something about it, but it's probably my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, actually, I think I could definitively say that I could toss up between Appreciate and I Can Bet, but right now I'm definitely leaning Appreciate.
Okay, all right. So I guess should we move on to track 11 then?
Let's.
All right, track 11 is called "Looking at Her." And
this is the really pop-sounding song one, right?
This is the "Everybody's looking at her, she's good."
Yeah, this sounds like it could be like a pop song for some modern young person.
You think?
Some young whippersnapper.
You think?
Yeah, some young whippersnapper.
You think?
I'm thinking of the right one. I remember there was one of these that stuck out. It was like I could see, I don't know, Justin Timberlake or someone almost singing this.
But
not in a bad way, but.
But you're saying that this song is maybe not as personal.
No, it's just it sounds like it's him taking influence from other modern artists. And they don't even mean that about it. I think it's like good versions of their songs, of like Katy Perry or Justin Bieber.
No,
like if they were actually good.
I think I know what you're saying. That this was a song that is very poppy.
Yeah.
Well, Garrett, what do you think of it?
I think it's very good. First off, I mean, it's obviously a ballad to this person. It seems just like some archetypical, just the girl, the one of my dreams. But it's also someone who's highly desired by everyone else.
It's hard to hold that against since half of pop music is that.
Well, yeah.
Half of music in general is that.
And especially, I really like this song also because I get the feeling that the narrator is slightly unhinged.
You kind of get that feeling about this whole album, though, and I really like that.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's almost unhinged that way we all secretly are.
Yeah, that is a really good way to describe it. Actually, it's very relatable. That we all secretly have these weird things that we want to do or want to say, but we realize, well, I'll never do that.
Yeah, it's the whole bit where he's talking about she's good, she's fine, but I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. That weird bit that comes right after he says that every time.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I have in my notes. I don't love the synth. This is actually one of the songs I don't love the synth on it. Mm-hmm. But that's just me. I mean, I love the synth on Appreciate. I love the synth on I Can Bet. This is the one of those I think that it sounds a little too modern, and I don't love it per se.
Like, just have someone playing the iPad on it. Like that other track you said.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me on this one.
Probably not. I think this is probably one of the most modern songs. My problem with it, though, is that it sounds like, like you said, a typical ballad. Not a typical ballad, but it's a relatable song. So it should sound almost a little bit more classic sounding.
This sounds like influenced by modern artists, and I kind of enjoyed that. It sounded like, what if these artists were actually good? What if Justin Bieber was good? What if One Direction was good?
You're saying that this would be like one of those songs?
Yeah. Almost like if they said, Paul McCartney write Justin Bieber a song.
Yeah.
Somebody would have wrote him.
A song that he could give away.
Yeah.
But I love but it's weird because I think the song is very classic sounding. I love the falsetto singing on this one. This is the one I think the falsetto singing works extremely well. But then you get to I'm losing my mind, dun 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 dun, and it kind of kills it just a little bit to me. Just a little bit, not much.
I also think this left turn, but there's this little bit in the middle. It's kind of like an acoustic solo. You know where I'm talking?
Yeah, the
yeah. I thought that was really good. That's one of the best parts.
I'm trying to think of it. I think that I'm losing my mind. It's a nice bit of punctuation. I'm trying to remember what it sounds like.
That's the bit where he sings, she's good, she's fine, she's so refined, and maybe I'm losing my mind.
And there's that card. Yeah, I actually really like that bit of it. It's probably the favorite bit of this. It's really nice punctuation just in there from some soft to hard.
You're right on that. I like the way that's I'm losing my mind. I like that how that comes in from falsetto to like he sings I'm losing my mind like in his normal voice, and it sounds really good.
I think it's really just good with it when it's mixed with that riff it's with.
Yeah, it really drives home the point that there's something not quite right with this person.
Mm-hmm. I think this is actually one of the stronger songs.
And it's kind of just like a mini fist pump. It just has that almost a fist pump type feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Half a fist pump.
It's weird how we keep saying this is like the second half of the songs are as forgettable, but this is to me like one of the standouts.
Yeah.
For this song. I think that's all I had to say.
I'll probably seem to listen to it again.
But I think
I may have catchy fatigue.
Yeah.
Which is probably something I might hold against this album. Just there's a little bit too much. This may make two really great different albums. If he had new and the new two in 6 months.
Kind of like what Justin Timberlake did. He had 2 albums in 1 year.
I was actually thinking of what Green Day did, although I didn't listen to any of them.
You weren't missing much.
I wasn't. Okay.
So we should move on to the final track on this album.
Or Green Day.
So, yeah, ish. We'll get to that. Track 12 is called Road, and I'm going to give it away. I think it's really good. Very fireman-ish, in the sense that it's late, and it kind of works that it's the, quote-unquote the last song, because you wouldn't really put this, like, in the middle, and it's very lavish. I love the bass piano riff, dun, 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 clap, clap.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think the vocal effects work really well in this one. I can't see anymore, and like his voice is kind of like echoing the distance, kind of like he's far away a little bit. The blinding light is just a metaphor for something I use it not going right. I think this works really well as a closer. Again, I'm putting air quotes because it's the road. I'm going away, so to speak. I love this one. Garrett, what do you think of it?
I think it is also one of the stronger tracks on the album. Again, this is very atmospheric. I almost feel like this one would be I wrote that I'd like to see this also in a video game like Appreciate. Although while Appreciate was more of a dark dungeon feel, Road is more of a space highway sort of feel, if you know what I mean.
You know, you're right.
Yeah. I think it builds very well from the beginning with it's just a sort of synthesizer pad with occasional flourishes. And then the drums kick in and everything. And I really like the layered voices that I can't see anymore. Is that the lyric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I can confirm that. I just listened to it.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't see anymore. That's really good.
Well, Avery, what do you think of Road?
It's okay. I think I'm gonna love it more on my 10th and 11th listen through. Because I still think it's a kind of weak finish to the album, although it's not really a finish. We'll talk about later.
Yeah.
And the instruments is really nice. It's just really atmospheric. I have to say that. Right.
I was talking about how this is a good, like, if this was like a concert, like Road would be like the song before the encore to me, because it's it works well as an ending, but it's not a capper, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, it's good for an ending of part one, and then and then it's like, oh, like, is there more? And then
this isn't really the ending of part one, though. It's the ending of part two.
Yeah, which is kind of weird in a way.
Like, this one where Appreciate is. I think I'd like it a little more too.
That's interesting because they have sort of similar vibes. Like I said, they both sound kind of video gamey to me. So maybe if they had been switched in the order, it might work better for you at least.
I think so. I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking about that because one thing I've done with this album is that I've hardly cherry-picked this album. I've actually found myself listening from one song and then immediately going to the next and to the next to the next, and then I finally finish. So I like the placement of this one, and I think, I hate to brag a little bit, but I love what I just figured out about how this would be like the ending, but there's the encore if you have the deluxe edition, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
Even if you don't, you still get an encore.
Yeah, that is true. So,
although I think Scared's good enough to be in the regular album.
Oh, it is. So should we talk about Scared now, or should we save that till the end?
Let's go in the order. So let's go in the right order.
So Turned Out is next?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Turned Out is the first of two songs exclusive to the deluxe edition, and I love this song. I'm trying to think of other words. I think this song is just awesome. You know what? While I can gather my thoughts, because I'm kind of mumbling. Avery, what do you think of it?
I need a minute. Go to Garrett.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. For the most part, it's very upbeat, of course. I really like the slick acoustic guitar on it. There's the slide acoustic as well. It sounds to me kind of like Paul's version of Any Road from Brainwashed.
You think so?
A little bit.
Well,
it's sort of him having a similar.
Yeah, I can kind of hear that.
Mood, at least
especially
a similar
with the
mood.
guitars.
It's not my favorite song on the album. I don't think it sucks.
It's one that you don't have strong feelings for.
Yeah,
I was actually like, as you were saying, it reminds me of Any Road. I kept thinking, is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it? Because so many reviews point to this song as that this is a George song. You hear that riff, and then there's the slide, right at the beginning, and it's weird. I put in my notes. It sounds like I was like responding to the reviews that I've read about this song. I said it sounds George, but the chorus isn't very George sounding, and the bridge especially. But there are.
I think it's just kind of George the same way that On My Way to Work is John. It kind of feels like it's them, but through a Paul McCartney filter.
No, you make a good point. It has elements. I think it has elements of George, but I wouldn't classify it as a George type song.
Right. I was just listening to a second of it, and there's a chord progression in there that sounds very George.
Very George.
And then other stuff happens. I'm like, that's not George.
Yeah, I think Avery said it best. It kind of filtered through Paul, and he made it. It has a George, but Paul put his stamp on it and made it Paul's song.
Like I said, it's Paul's version of the Any Road theme.
Okay.
Well, Avery, we didn't get a chance to ask you. What do you think overall about Turned Out?
I I like it. I think I'm something that probably I have with every song in the second half of the album is I like it, but I find it a little hard to remember how they go, which is weird because they're catchy, but it's kind of because they're almost too catchy at this point. They're all catchy, and I still got Queenie Eye stuck in my head.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That one's probably the catchiest of all of these songs. Although it turned out has some catchy bits in it too. The whole
it probably like everything else will benefit from my 11th and 12th listen through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and going and just listen to these tracks specifically instead of listening to the whole album. I think it's a little benefit from being played in little chunks.
You think this album works better, like you said,
as a single song or little chunks?
Interesting.
It's almost what I think it's kind of a digital age album. This doesn't feel like you should listen to from start to finish almost.
See, I feel
I'm not sure if I agree with you, but I do see what you mean.
I see what you mean too. The problem with me is that I'm a huge Paul fan, so I've listened to this in its entirety a lot. So I'm used to it as a whole. I think we kind of have an overall impression. It's a good song, but there's nothing too distinguishable about it except for it being very George-like.
Yeah.
So, all right then. So track 16 is called "Get Me Out of Here." It's the second song exclusive to the deluxe edition.
This is the blues one.
This is the blues one. This is Paul paying tribute to his blues idol, not blues idols, but paying tribute to like the music before the 50s rock and roll.
No, this is clearly going for your blues, your Robert Johnsons and your BB. Maybe not BB King, maybe something in between Robert Johnson and BB King.
Yeah.
I like it, but there's not much else you can say about it. It is the blues song.
Yeah? What do you think of it, Garrett?
I really like how it begins with Paul singing through a slight filter, and how it kind of starts with how do I say this? At the beginning, when I first heard like just the two elements of his voice and the guitar, I thought, oh, is this going to be the whole track? Is it a demo of his? And then they added more stuff into it, and so it still has a bit of a demo feel to it.
I think that's on purpose, though. I think that's almost a tribute to its blues roots.
Yeah.
Most of those blues songs, because of the time and because of just production qualities that only so good you can master it, still have that demo sound.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to the Robert Johnsons, they sound all like demos. Because there's only so much you can remaster those old, crappy recordings. Crappy not in terms of musical quality, but in terms of audio quality.
Right.
Those are just crappy recordings made for on the cheap, even for back then.
But also back then, when you recorded, you couldn't you couldn't overdub layers and layers. There was only so much that you could record at once.
Even for back then, that was cheap technology.
Yes, it's interesting that you say it sounds like
it feels almost like a tribute to that.
But
that's why it has that filter on it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Avery. I think, and also in Garrett's defense, you're saying it doesn't sound as polished.
Yeah, I do like the da-da-da-da-da-dum drum guitars thing put together with the big bass booming drums. It's a nice little ditty. I
think that not as polished is on purpose too, is it on the root of being a tribute to the blues? Because for the same reasons the blues wasn't as polished.
Yes.
Because it was, I've got $5, I'll go and make an album.
Yeah.
And this crappy recording that they let everyone go into.
I think
famous.
Yeah, it reminds me of there was something years, I think in like 74, 75, there's audio of Paul in the backyard of EMI kind of just going through a bunch of stuff, like early rock and roll songs, some Elvis, some Buddy Holly, and it's called the Backyard Tapes, and it literally is Paul and an acoustic guitar. This song reminded me of that. This would not have been out of place. And kind of on a funny note, when you're talking about bluesiness, the liner note says that, you know, the band, Paul's band is on, you know, drums, guitar, and then his second guitarist is on water bottle. I swear to God, that's what it says.
Yeah, there you go.
So you can almost have that, you know, when you blow into a water bottle, it makes that doom, doom, doom when you blow into it. I don't know. It just made me think of that, like when I read that.
Yeah, it's got that sort of homemade feel. Like, hey, Junior, go get that washboard, the big spoon.
Yeah, something.
We're making music.
Yeah, we're making music. Something just like that. Yeah, I like the song overall. It really is. It's much like the blues. You really can't talk a lot about it.
It's something that has to be felt, man.
Yeah, something has to be felt. So that ends the tracks that are listed on the back covers of both the standard and the deluxe edition. Now the hidden track, we're going to say, is on both the standard and the deluxe edition. And if you have the CD, it tracks separately, meaning it's a different track. If you buy it on iTunes, it's attached to whatever the last song is. So whether it's Road...
And the 50th anniversary edition, it's the 21st track.
Yes. So this track is called Scared. Avery, I'm going to start with you since you've talked about this song before.
I really like it. I mean, I kind of think it's done an injustice by being the special bonus secret track. By being buried away like that, even though I can see why that might be a neat thing.
Why do you say injustice?
Because I think this is probably one of the highlights of the album, and love probably won't hear it because of that.
So you're saying it's so good it doesn't need to be hidden?
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm kind of not on board for bonus tracks in general. I mean, especially when it's your current release. That's like saying we had a deleted scene, but we put it in the film anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not a deleted scene. It's just a scene.
Yeah, we've had those discussions about how sometimes we hate the whole deluxe edition of something that comes out at the same time.
It is your 25th or 50th anniversary thing, and I don't think it's fair game. I think it's fine that you have bonus tracks. But when it's your initial release of an album, I don't think it's fair game.
Well, then we'll go to Garrett. Ask Garrett, what do you think of Scared?
Man, this song makes me cry. It is
the saddest song on the album almost.
It is so good.
It is so beautiful because, I mean, this is one of those tracks where I see Paul at his most vulnerable. And it's also very relatable because of its vulnerability. And it's scared of, I kind of feel like it's being scared of telling your friend that you love them. And I don't know if that means like a girl who you're in the friend zone right now and you want to say it.
It kind of does work with the new young man theme, that it is young man problems. Yeah.
And I also feel that it's also scared to tell, just your best friend that you love them. Just to put yourself in such a vulnerable position.
Because it's something that you don't come out and say. You're scared to be like, what if I did say it?
Yeah. For guys, it tends to be something along the lines of, you know what, it doesn't need to be said. I got your back, you got my back, it's good. But when you actually say it, when you actually open yourself to this guy that you trust, there isn't really anything that could go wrong, but it's still a really frightening prospect of doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I'm kind of like gathering my thoughts right now because when you said, it's a guy talking to a guy, I was like, that's not how I thought of it first, but I can see what you're getting at. Yeah, to me, when I first heard this, it's, you hear the piano in the beginning and it's kind of like Get Me Out of Here was fun, and it's kind of like, oh, wow.
Paul really clues you in. They're like, oh, okay, settling down a bit.
Yeah,
we're gonna get serious here for a minute, you guys.
And also, not to be funny, but think of how it is as a hidden track, and he's scared. It's he could have just kept this. He could have left this off entirely, but the fact that he let us in to hear this, and he's scared to. He's 71, but he's scared to say he loves her.
I have a question. When you go get this album digitally, is it listed as the final track? Do they say the name Scared?
When you get the album digitally, it's attached to whatever the last song is.
Oh, okay.
But if you have it on CD, it's separate. I think about the sentiment. I'm scared to say the first line. I'm scared to say I love you. I want to set these words free. I'm dying to, but I'm scared of it all. Think about anybody in a relationship, or especially Paul. He had a 30-year relationship with Linda, and he's scared to say he loves this woman, but he said the same thing to Linda too. So it's kind of like, can you really love more than one person?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the
and then also the other men in his life who have passed on, like John and George, or who are also there, and they say they still got his back, like Ringo. And a lot of people outside of the Beatles themselves, he's got to have zillions of personal contacts that we just don't know about, or just kind of are there but they fly under our radar.
Yeah, good point. This is probably, if this song was on the album,
about Scared first.
Sure.
You know I made it my ringtone.
Yeah, I was surprised.
What?
I made it my ringtone for a while.
Okay.
How long did that last?
I had to reformat my phone, so all my
about
ringtones
10
are gone.
minutes.
Yeah.
No, it lasted for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Until I had to reformat my phone.
Also, I'm gonna bring this up because I'm curious what you guys think of this. Did either of you ever go back and think about John's song "Scared" and this one related to that one?
No.
I mean, the titles immediately popped out to me, but
I forgot he had a song called "Scared."
Yeah.
I just kind of thought. I mean, in that song, John is scared of everything.
Is that off Walls and Bridges?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that song? John is scared of everything. Really, scared of life. I don't know. It's just kind of that's one thing you think of when John and Paul write a song that has the same title. You tend to
You say a song with John scared of everything, scared of life. My first thing I think of is Isolation.
Yeah. It's a similar feeling.
Maybe because Walls and Bridges isn't the most memorable John Lennon album. Not to say that it's bad, it's just not the most memorable.
That's a good point. So, as Beatle fans, that's something that we tend to go to when we see a title that's the same title as another song that we know.
Speak for yourself.
What?
Speak for yourself.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding, dummy. I love you.
Thanks.
It says Avery, who forgot that John Lennon wrote a song called "Scared."
Hey, we all forget. We all forget.
Although I gotta say though, when I first saw a song called "Alligator," I thought of the Tegan and Sarah song. Even though again, it sounds nothing alike.
They are nothing. They are nothing alike. So I guess that wraps everything up then. Unless we have any final thoughts overall.
No. Do you want to rate it?
Yeah. So let's get to rating Paul McCartney's new album in our scale. Who wants to go first? Okay, I will go first.
I haven't got it. OUT spells out.
Oh boy, how do you rate a new album? How do I rate? It's weird because in a couple months or so, I may go back to this because this one's grown. I think out of the three of us, this one's probably grown on me the most because I've had a chance to listen to it the most. So, this is tough. You know what? I'm gonna cop out. I'm gonna give it a letter grade instead of a number grade.
Sure.
I give it a solid A-. I'm gonna take off a little bit less because there's some parts like it's real. I agree with Avery. Like in a couple of years when Paul is unfortunately passed, I feel like this when we rank his albums, this one will probably be in at least the top 10. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought. And I wasn't expecting to hate it. It's just you just never know what these new materials are gonna sound like. So yeah, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go with an A. I think Paul McCartney's new album, final grade before I change my mind, I'm giving it an A. So
Okay.
that's my rating. Garrett?
All right. As I've said, this feels like a cross between Electric Arguments and Memory Almost Full to me. Just a teaspoon of something entirely different. I feel like it's Paul is an older man trying to stay relevant, trying to modernize, and doing a pretty good job of it, while still being himself, being recognizable. There are no bad songs on this album.
That was my thought too.
There are just songs that are less good than others.
Yeah, because usually, that helps me rate sometimes, but there really are not bad songs.
Yeah. And with the exception of one or two, they're all fairly mediocre to me. Well, no, that's too harsh. They're good-ish, which is a step. Which is a couple
of the good songs.
Well, except for Appreciate and I Can Bet, all of them are just merely good. So I'm gonna give this, out of my 5 TARDIS ratings, I'm gonna give it 3.5 TARDISes.
That's not bad considering that you only had 2 days to listen to it.
Yeah, I expect that if I give it a few repeat listens, I could bump it up to 4.
Right. See, that's the problem with we're recording it now is that it is so fresh. So our ratings are either going to be pretty okay, or they're going to be really good, or they'll be really bad. We just don't know what's going to happen.
Like I said, I've listened to this 2.5 times.
Yeah, and I've listened to it a lot, but I just feel like I can't diss it. So so we have an A and we have a 3.5 out of 5. Avery?
4.5 out of 5.
Really?
This album is really good. I mean, I kind of think it'll get better. I can't give it in full faith, give it a 5, because I kind of have problems with the second half of the album. But I certainly for the first half I give a 5, and I think the second half could eventually deserve a 5 if I just keep listening to it.
And you're saying simply because it hasn't grown on you yet?
Yes.
Okay, and usually second...
even then, I think there's a reason it hasn't grown on me yet. It's because there's sort of fatigue, which I think is a problem with the album. Mm-hmm. But I still think the album is too good to not give it at least close to a 5. So I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, that was my reason for giving it an A-. I was like, it's still good, so I had to raise it. So you know what? In a couple of years' time, if we're talking about this album and it comes up, we might even give it a higher rating. So
what does that average out to? The three of us, an apple out of a banana or something?
Probably. I'm not familiar with those kind of ratings.
I think it comes at a solid 4 or 4.25.
Have you ever seen Conan's Clueless Gamer?
We're like the
game. He's like, I give this a triangle out of 3 condoms.
Yeah. He gives it ratings that have nothing to do with
that are random and make no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I can't give you a number. Even the number rating to me doesn't make sense. So if you have new and you want to tell us what you think of it, then you can write on our website at www.mixcloud.com/triplethreat and tell us that we're wrong. We don't care. It'll just prove that you're listening to us. We all have things that we can plug really quickly. Avery, you can follow Avery on Twitter and Instagram at Sherlock Lord, all one word. You can follow me on Twitter at It's Only Tom. There's an underscore in between all 3 of those words. And you can check out Garrett's album. What's the website again?
Garrett Hicks, all one word, .bandcamp.com.
Okay, and you can find his stuff up there, and you can listen to more episodes of our show at www.mixcloud.com/triplethreat, and you can hear the old episodes of the show at recordrant.podomatic.com, and it's also on iTunes. So should we wrap things up?
One last thing for me to plug. I'm also voice acting in a Doctor Who YouTube series, so if you want to check that out, it's at TARDIS Archives on YouTube.
Cool. And so we'll probably have people who are Doctor fans will tune in and listen to that. Mm-hmm. So let's just get a jump on one more thing and say, does anybody have one more thing to add about this album?
It's good. Go out and buy it.
Avery?
Apples.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Apple. So we are out of here. Thanks for listening to Triple Threat. I'm Tom Rutia, and I've been joined by Garrett Hicks.
Yo.
And Avery Spencer.
Be seeing you.
Be seeing you all, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening to our episode about Paul McCartney's new album, New, right here on Triple Threat. If you have any comments or suggestions for us, or you want to let us know what you think of the album, you can write to us at our website, www.mixcloud.com/triplethreat, and check out the Triple Threat podcast on YouTube. Quick note before we go, Triple Threat now uploads at least once every month. This way we can keep consistent with our episodes. So look out on Mixcloud or YouTube to see at least one brand new episode every month. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on Triple Threat. Bye-bye.
This episode's not about sex, it's about trains and fruit baskets. I'm taking the habit.
Exactly.
Garrett, did you say you had one more thing to add?
Yeah.
I mean, is that going to go in the main show and the outro?
Both.
Are you just going to put that at the beginning of it? Sledgehammer's about trains and fruit baskets?
We'll put that at the beginning with no context.
That's the best one.
Don't even put Sledgehammer's, but it's about trains and fruit baskets.
No, I think you should say Sledgehammer is about, anyway, but
well-known song off New, Sledgehammer. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby
to get ourselves some snacks. Anyway.
Okay.
Garrett, save us.
Yes.
Yes, please. This is going off the rails.
Don't worry. Never fear. 'Tis I. Never fear, Simon Belmont is here. That's an entirely different album, don't worry.
Save us.
We'll get to Starbomb later.
Yes, we will.
Heather Mills had a really messy divorce.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But let's not talk about that.
Yeah. That's
one leg, right?
Say what?
What?
She's the lady with one leg.
Let's just say yes, because that's
I think so, actually. Which is surprising because I heard that. Well, I've read a quote somewhere that whenever Heather Mills is in a relationship, she just has sex with him all the time.
Oh wow.
Anyway,
but that's none of our business.
no, I don't really care about that drama shit.
Yeah.
This is going in the extras.
Yes, it is. I like it very much. I think it's really catchy and.
I like it very much.
Yeah.
Loverboy.
Are you done?
Yes.
I don't know what happened there.
Don't worry about it.
That's how in the update.
It's weird because it's like Avery said. In a couple.
How do you rate a new album?
How? Yeah, it's.
Right. You don't get it.
No, I don't get it. I probably missed something there.
I just like leaving the gaps open, but I mean, I'm not sure why they just didn't input. If you pause it, you can see part of Eccleston's face.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not sure why they just didn't do a whole thing, because they do it at the end and have all 12 doctors. They have lookalikes with the actors' faces put on.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they just do that with John Hurt when he was generating?
But my question is, when Thor 2 came out, was it advertised that Eccleston was going to be in it?
Yes.
Somewhat. Yeah, I mean,
Because
I think marketing changed halfway through because they realized when they're re-editing it's just a Loki movie.
But
The salvages film, they have to make this the Loki movie because he's the only good thing about this film.
But the problem with advertising it like that, and then he's only in it for, like you said, for like half a minute. I think if it wasn't advertised, he probably would have gotten a little bit more respect. Because when it's advertised that he's in it, it usually sounds like they're in it for the long run.
I think his role may have been bigger at first. Although, that being said, I still can't see how it's that great a role. He's a pretty generic villain. He's evil because meh, and he wants to destroy stuff because... It's not even like a Joker, I want to destroy stuff because anarchy and this weird philosophy I have. He's just bad because he's bad.
Well,
I've heard from in the comics that character he plays is actually a really Joker-like, which would have been great. That would have been almost a return of Doctor Who for him. And just him playing manic and mood swings and stuff. And eccentric and charming. I would have loved to have seen him play it like that.
Yeah.
who's making...
His face barely moves into the makeup. He has no emotions in it. I don't know why they got Christopher Eccleston. You could have had anyone. You could have got Ray Park or whatever his name is. The guy who played Darth Maul and Toad from X-Men.
I suppose. I mean,
You could have really just got all it is the stuntman part. It would have saved you money because you wouldn't have to get real stuntmen. You'd be like, here's the stuntman under the mask. Just use him for all the stunts.
Yeah.
And most of what he does then is actually just stunts in the big end fight.
Well,
I don't know why you get Eccleston to do stunts.
Hang on, Avery. Is the movie good? Because I've heard mixed things. Like other than being disappointed about Christopher Eccleston, is the movie good?
No, it's mixed. It's kind of that thing that a bad Marvel movie is better than anything else. So it still has some bit of enjoyability, but it is by far the worst Marvel movie that's come out so far. Out of their mainline films.
Okay. Maybe they just used him as, a little bit of star power to give it that extra boost because they weren't exactly confident.
I almost don't know if the director was the problem. Because they changed directors halfway through, and then the editing's really weird. It seems like it's a salvage job. And I can kind of believe that his part was cut, but I still wouldn't even think even with more of his part, it was that interesting a part. I don't know why he signed onto it. With him being, I get the impression he's picky, though. We also sent him to G.I. Joe. Maybe he's got less picky sense. Which that would frustrate me, though. If you feel like I can't come back to Doctor Who, but I'll send him to other crappy movies.
Well, I'll have to keep that in mind. I'm gonna probably go. They're starting to turn. They're starting to turn the lights off in the hallway because right now I'm in the study hall. So I'm probably gonna get going. I have everything I need. So
okay, I'm going too. Bye.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.